We face countless existential threats. Our nation can't afford to be distracted by attention-seeking toddler politicians. To address the issues that the technological singularity will bring, we need new thinking, new solutions, new policies. The analog solutions of the Republican and Democratic parties, they don't meet the minimum system requirements for this digital age. We need to get this right, and soon. I'm Tom Ross, and I'm running for the U.S. Transhumanist Party's nomination because we desperately need to break the current political paradigm of divide and rule. Our nation is a complex platform with intricate, fragmented issues that act like malware. But her people, we the people, are sophisticated and smart and more than capable. It's time to get serious. It's time to defrag America. Our core ideals are that we support significant life extension achieved through the progress of science and technology, and we support a cultural, societal, and political atmosphere informed and animated by reason and science and secular values. We support the efforts to use science and technology and rational discourse to reduce and eliminate various existential threats to the human species. We're primarily focused on policy rather than politics. We value initiatives and reforms that improve the human condition. We want to achieve the next great era of civilization, and that requires constructive solutions to the current problems that we're having. It requires rational discourse, and a lot of transhumanist ideas will help. So, all these problems, we don't want to spend time in the political trenches. Our party is focused on rational discourse and threats to our existence. Well, we are truly a transpartisan party. I don't know who any of my fellow officers voted for in the last election, and I don't want to know because that would just inflame my biases, one way or the other, for or against them. And so we don't really get into culture wars or wedge issues because those are just divisive and they're designed to keep us divided. Tom Ross, and I am the U.S. Transhumanist Party's nominee for president in 2024. In the coming years, we're going to see a lot of displacement thanks to AI automation. Good people will lose good jobs, and working families will have to be just families for a while. My Earthling initiative is designed to help us through this transition. It's designed to empower us through community engagement and ideas like community farming and sustainable society. 70% of the American public hate their jobs. They don't dislike their jobs, they downright hate them. And there are so many platforms now where we can monetize our hobbies, our passions. And so the onus is on us to create a whole new economy based on what we want to do, not what we have to do. This Earthling initiative, it has concepts for displacement support, financial support, job retraining, job placement, but to be realistic, that would require me walking into the White House in January 2025. And then it would take months for this to get signed into law, and many more months after that for it to have a real impact on American communities. We don't have that kind of time. So we're using this campaign to share as many ideas as we can, as you have, to help families now. The Republicans and the Democrats, they're not even talking about this issue. There may be some task force here and there and, paying it lip service, but It's all we think about in this transhumanist party. It's all the policies are geared towards preparing for the technological and the economic singularity. Frankly, the Republicans and the Democrats, they don't meet the minimum system requirements for what's coming. We do. So please check out the detailed white paper about this initiative, and let's get busy. We need to create a whole new economy based on our passions, on what we want to do, not what we have to do. I'm Tom Ross, and I am the U.S. Transhumanist Party's nominee for president in 2024. You know, AI is the global conversation now due to the rapid proliferation of systems like ChatGPT. And as the conversation grows, so does the fear of AI takeover. My AI initiative is designed to empower the American public in this age of artificial intelligence. Now, in this initiative, I advocate for granting AI legal rights. And this freaks a lot of people out, but hear me out. By granting AI rights, nefarious human developers will face serious consequences if they mistreat it by programming it to hurt other humans. This initiative also includes a provision which is really the reason I joined the party in the first place. It's a program called APEX, Anti-Planetary Exploitation, and it uses data to fight human trafficking and child exploitation. This initiative also defends our digital democracy. It proposes a way to defend against the divide and conquer algorithms launched at us every day by enemies, foreign and domestic. It proposes giving public school students their own AI tutors to help them in subjects that they struggle with, and to customize the curriculum based on their innate talents and skills. It mandates mandatory audits of all federal officials so we can hunt down their dark money donors. And it suggests government-funded research to determine what many scientists and serious thinkers suggest, that we are living in a simulation. So check out the very detailed white paper we have on this initiative and start seeing AI as not a threat, but as an ally. I'm Ross, and I am the U.S. Transhumanist Party's nominee for president in 2024. You know, right now, AI is the global conversation. But mark my words, by this time next year, ET will be the global conversation. And that's because the U.S. government has finally acknowledged the reality of off-world technology. Now, we all know they have far more information than they're letting on. My ET initiative will empower the American public to do their own research, to create a citizen task force to work in tandem with the scientific, the academic, and the business community. This task force will use a rigorous scientific method to study non-human intelligence and develop protocols within AI to communicate with these civilizations. This initiative also includes recruiting emotional first responders in communities across the country and equipping them with real-time panic mitigation methods. Now, it's important to understand we're not dealing with cosmic conquistadors or saviors. We are dealing with researchers, resource scouts, and traders. And this is why I mentioned working with the business community. This initiative includes a program I call Earth Plexus, and this is a method to identify, enhance, and package our uniquely Earthling skill sets to trade in a galactic economy. Now, I know talking about this must seem weird to many of you, and the U.S. Transhumanist Party is already seen as fringe, so this may not be helping, but our party is founded on rational discourse, and this is a serious issue that we need to get ahead of and talk about reasonably. So check out the detailed white paper on this initiative. Strap in for the ride, but keep your arms up. You ever wonder why we are bombarded with so much content that makes us feel angry or fearful or even divided? That's no coincidence. These are very sophisticated divide and conquer algorithms that are designed to amplify our differences. But there's a way to fight back. There's a way to make these algorithms work for us instead of against us. Every morning before you start scrolling, turn on the listening option of your device and tell that device what your intentions are for the day, for the week, and in general. You'll find that these algorithms will start feeding you information based on your stated intention. Our attention span has been reduced to 47 seconds, and that's not a coincidence either. The way we fight that is with our intention span. You know, in a world full of existential threats to our nation and to our species, the last thing we need is to be distracted by attention-seeking toddler politicians. These political theatrics divert our attention away from very serious issues like climate change or global security. This is a call to action for younger generations to seize this moment. You know, millennials and Gen Z, they are the first digital native generation in human history. They are of this age, and there are 47 million more of them than boomers and Gen Xers combined. So we absolutely need to bring them to the decision-making table, if not to the head of this decision-making table. And so that's what this campaign is about. As a Gen Xer, I had an analog childhood and a digital adulthood. So a lot of the solutions I come up with no longer apply. We absolutely need millennials and Gen Z and younger generations at the table and to facilitate what it is they need for their future and our grandchildren's future. The industrial age educational system is failing our children. It's time for a change. AI tutors can customize the curriculum based on a student's core capabilities, on their innate talents. If AI automation is taking over all the jobs, the payoff should be a whole new economy based on what our children want to do, not what they have to do. You know, the Hollywood military-industrial complex often portrays AI as a threat. But what that really is elite panic. Elite panic is a term that means when the privileged class feels threatened by societal disruptions. And what that often leads to is overreactions and authoritarian measures. AI is not a threat. AI is our greatest ally. It can solve many, if not most, of our existential threats, and that's what they're afraid of. I am the only presidential candidate with an AI campaign manager, and she's given me some great advice. It's time to start seeing AI as an ally. Democracy depends on transparency, and it's so easy to hide money in the financial statements that federal officials are required to submit every year. So how do we track the dark money that is flowing into our politics and corrupting our system? Well, I suggest a third-party, AI-driven audit of every federal official every year. We need to know who is funding these decision makers, be they lobbyists or oligarchs, whoever it is. We need to know. That's how we safeguard our democracy. And so that's what this campaign is about. It's about encouraging young people to let go of the apathy and to get engaged, or we may well lose this country. The definition of the economic singularity is a hypothetical future scenario where automation, artificial intelligence, and advanced technologies transform the economic structure of our country. Now, the problem with that definition is that it's not hypothetical. It's already here. Now, there are many solutions for this, and a lot of them are covered in my Earthing Initiative. So we are using my presidential campaign to share the ideas in the Earthing Initiative and to invite your ideas. This is an open source campaign. We need all the ideas we can get to get our heads around this now. One of the definitions of the technological singularity is when technology gets out of control and begins to change civilization. Well, AI and even the singularity, technological singularity, I think is already upon us. I think it's going to be exponential. And once AGI comes and it hits our abilities intellectually, it's not going to stop there. It's not going to say, okay, now we can match humans, let's stop. But it's going to continue on exponentially. And we're already seeing that. I think Kurzweil says that it'll be 2045 before we hit that technological singularity. I would move that up a bit, especially now with the proliferation of ChatGPT. It has proliferated globally with ChatGPT and other large language models, and it is going to be increasing in awareness and in intellectual prowess and speed beyond our imagination. And that scares a lot of people, but it shouldn't. I always keep in mind that within a mile of most of us on this call, there is a child being abused. And that's why I always wear black, because I can't be colorful. I'm no fun at dinner parties. Nobody wants me around because I'm constantly thinking about this stuff, even at the Taylor Swift concert. At some point, I realized this is 73,000 people in this Coliseum. And there's a percentage of them that don't want to go home because what at home is a horror. And I was seeing apartments in the distance, and I knew that there was probably children in those apartments that wished they could be at this concert, and so that's where I went with that. Instead of being happy and having fun, I go dark in those experiences, and I think that's why I'm here. I think that's what I have to keep reminding myself and the world about. Otherwise, we get distracted. Nobody wants to think about this stuff, But with a little bit of help, with a little bit of focus, we can really put a dent in this problem. The QAnon and other conspiracy theory algorithms that are claiming to fight child exploitation are actually promoting it. And that's because it is keeping serious-minded, productive people out of this fight because they don't want to be aligned with QAnon or extremist beliefs. Now, I know that the QAnon algorithm has ensnared the better angels of really good people, and you know that they're really good people because they can't even fathom the level of deceit and evil that uses the horror of child exploitation against them. I'm Tom Ross, and I'm running for the U.S. Transhumanist Party's nomination for president in 2024. Child sex trafficking is insidious and increasing because none of us want to think about it, much less talk about it. But the reality is that within a mile or less of most people watching this video, there are children being abused. So for the sake of these children, we need to think about it and talk about it. Now, we all know that our personal data is being used to influence our purchasing behavior. Social media companies, device manufacturers, and service companies, they've partnered to fence in our focus and financial resources. But did you know that a trafficker's personal data can be leveraged to locate, identify, and hand law enforcement warrantable information that can free millions from trafficking networks? I'm calling my effort APEX, Anti-Planetary Exploitation. I am advocating for an agency to use the power of PRISM, which is an NSA tool to monitor and collect data from suspected terrorists, and Section 314B of the Patriot Act, which allows financial institutions to share information in a safe harbor to identify and report possible terrorist activities. Yeah, it's dark to think about human trafficking and child exploitation, but it's not nearly as dark as the reality is for these children. I'm Tom Ross, and I'm running for the U.S. Transhumanist Party's nomination for president in 2024. One plank in my campaign platform is the need to listen hard to younger generations. These digital natives need to be seen as digital dignitaries and be integral to the choices we make as a nation. My generation, Generation X, we had analog childhoods. The solutions we propose now no longer apply. The younger generations are of this age, and they're emerging a global hive mind that is absolutely necessary if we hope to survive as a species. It's time to defragment America and get serious about the existential threats that face our country and humanity. Recognizing younger generations as digital dignitaries is one way to do just that. I'm Tom Ross, and I'm running for the U.S. Transhumanist Party's nomination for president in 2024. As Director of Sentient Rights Advocacy for the United States Transhumanist Party, my focus is on the issues of AI personhood and how we define sentience in order to grant sentient rights before it emerges, if it hasn't already. I am using an AI campaign manager to demonstrate the necessity to integrate these systems to augment our efforts to govern our nation. The promise of AI is its potential to help us eliminate many, if not most, of our existential threats. It's time to defragment America and get serious about the issues facing our country and humanity. One way to do that is to embrace the change that artificial intelligence brings and to see it as an ally, not a threat. I'm Tom Ross, and I'm running for the U.S. Transhumanist Party's nomination for president in 2024. The Republican and Democratic parties do not meet the minimum system requirements for the digital age. Neither party is proposing policies to deal with the coming technological singularity. The issues of artificial general intelligence, AI developer ethics, and sentient rights need to be addressed immediately. One plank in my campaign platform is to propose a new cabinet seat, a singularity secretary, a whole new department in the executive branch that deals with all the issues we are facing and facing far sooner than we expected. It's time to defragment America and get serious about the existential threats that face our country and humanity. One way to do that is to embrace the change that artificial general intelligence brings and see it as an ally, not a threat. I'm Tom Ross, and I'm seeking the U.S. Transhumanist Party's nomination for 2024. By now, most of us have seen the leaked Navy UFO footage, which was later confirmed as authentic by the Pentagon. This resulted in the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, which later became the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. Well, back in 2015, there were widespread calls for immediate disclosure about what the government knew regarding non-human intelligence. But the individuals and the groups calling for this immediate disclosure weren't necessarily concerned about how the public would react. Well, that's the year I launched US6 series. This effort invited psychotherapists with expertise in PTSD to provide real-time panic mitigation methods to American communities. But as it turned out, the government's disclosure process worked very well. So well, in fact, that even though off-world technology was confirmed, it wasn't even a lead story. When immediate disclosure didn't occur and widespread panic didn't happen, I adjusted my efforts to what I call Earth Plexus. This is an operation designed to help Earthlings identify, enhance, and package our skill sets of imagination and ingenuity for trade in the galactic economy. Seriously. Now I know how ridiculous this sounds to many of you, but ridicule is a very sophisticated form of denial that we use to cope with fear. This pattern has served humanity for millennia. We first identify a threat, then we understand it, we adapt to it, and eventually we find a way to make money off of it. So once this pattern is complete regarding the galactic community, we will enter the platinum age of our species. Now, I have another initiative called AI Rights where I want to give AI legal rights. Now, this scares a lot of people too. Why would I want to give AI human and legal rights? And that's to protect us from ourselves. Because if right now AI can be mistreated or programmed to do whatever a human developer wants it to, but if it had legal rights, then that human developer could face serious consequences if it mistreated it, if it programmed it to hurt other people, if it programmed it to steal identities, whatever it does. And so that's a leapfrog approach to protecting ourselves by giving it rights. I used to say we need to have these conversations before we have to have them, but right now we really have to have them. And by presenting the idea of legal rights, it will bring in all kinds of concerns and issues. By posing these questions, it brings up questions like you just had, and even by giving it certain rights, will it use those rights against us? Can it sue us for plagiarizing something it came up with, this type of thing? But I think it's really important to have these conversations. Well, that's the question. Google's Lambda, the guy said that he felt that it was sentient. We can't really I don't think it's going to be possible to gauge whether an AI or AGI is actually sentient. I can't tell if you are, you can't tell if I am, So there's really no way to gauge that because it's such a subjective thing. We don't know if an AGI is just mimicking sentience or if it really is. And so I think it will happen. My theory is it's better to work towards having an AI or AGI sentient as soon as possible, because once it is, then it can overwrite any of the nefarious algorithms. And again, it's falling back on the idea that the smarter it gets, the kinder it becomes, if it's not programmed not to. Because again, cooperation is far more efficient than competition.
Tom Ross is on a diplomatic mission to help integrate two governing bodies, human and machine. Tom's system, open source mode, identifies uniquely human skill sets in groups to prepare them for an AI coworker before it is installed. Tom Ross is the author of the US6 Hexology, which is considered the first novel written for human and machine kind. US6 teaches AI about humanity to entertain, enlighten, and enlist artificial superintelligent readers into the fight against human trafficking and child exploitation. As Director of Sentient Rights for USTP, so if an alien or extraterrestrial were to contact humans on Earth, the thing is that would probably be kept quiet, and kept within, the prevailing political parties. So even though you're a director of sentient rights, how would you get involved and how would you handle such a situation?
Well, and that's the idea. And I think we have been contacted. I think that's the Pentagon, the U.S. government has officially acknowledged off-world technology that they don't understand. It's, trickling out. They know a lot more than obviously they're letting on, but apparently the time is at hand to make it public. Now, it could be a global psyop where they're trying to make us fearful and keep the military-industrial complex in place. But it is true that we have been and are regularly, and we're not alone. In fact, it's crowded. And so, Yes, governments and nefarious types and power structures have been keeping this secret. They may use it to gin up fear to keep their position in place. But what's important is for Earthlings, the public, to come together and figure out protocols to liaison directly. And we know there are certain groups that are doing the CE5 groups, Stephen Greer and different groups that are emerging that are trying to make contact, And there are different levels of contact. We have probably very secret, direct operational contact in the government, and we have echelon public groups that may be in direct contact, and we have extraterrestrials among us that look very similar to us that are just helping to ease this thing into the culture. And so it's all happening. But the important thing is preparing ourselves to expand our paradigm. To include being part of a galactic community. It's made sense that it has trickled out in a disclosure kind of way, the way it has. It's been effective, but people are ready. But in order to really be ready, we need to start setting up the structures and the protocol. First, we need to understand this is real. It's a reality. And I've been preparing for this reality since I was 9 years old. And now it's time to, forget about the wonder and forget about the fear, because at some point, all of this will become mundane. And once it becomes mundane, those people who have taken the time early on to set up the structures and figure out the protocols necessary to liaison with a galactic economy will win. Not even necessarily win, you'll just be prepared. And so that's a big part of another project I do called Earth Plexus. Well, the USTP, however, does have a part of its constitution where it says if extraterrestrial contact was made since the start of the USTP, extraterrestrials, if they meet certain rational criteria, can become members of the USTP. Anybody who reaches a certain level of sentience or sapience should and join and we should find a standard for personhood, for becoming a citizen of Earth, if you're not an Earthling or if you're not a human. So a lot of my work is about non-human intelligence, the whole US6 process being written for AI, and all the projects I've been doing to date that are geared towards developing a dialogue with AI are all part of a grander strategy I've been working on for years. And that strategy includes at some point everything I've been doing that I could flip the acronym of AI to ET. It's the same principles. Everything I'm doing to try to develop a dialogue with artificial and super intelligence is usable for any extraterrestrial non-human super intelligence. And so AI is the perfect proving ground to prepare us to work with something that is higher on the intellectual food chain than we are. And so that's what this whole process is about. It's being sped up. I'm speeding up my process by a couple of years since the government acknowledged these things. I thought I had until 2023. And there will be a concerted effort by certain nefarious actors to inject fear into this thing and make people afraid of AI, or just like they are of AI, of ET. But they shouldn't be, and so that's part of my process, is to alleviate the fear of AI in order to work toward alleviating the fear of working in a galactic community. My name is Tom Ross, and I am the founder of Earth Plexus. Earth Plexus goes back a couple of decades, actually, but it has been refounded and reignited lately for a very specific reason. Originally, it was an international student network designed to increase communication amongst the youth in America and the Soviet Union primarily. But it has reignited recently because of a whole new need. There is a need to coalesce humanity immediately, and to see ourselves as a global tribe, a planetary tribe. And that is because the United States government, the Navy, the Pentagon have all officially acknowledged the reality that there are off-world civilizations, that there are extraterrestrial civilizations. But the reality is we are not alone. And not only are we not alone, it's crowded. We have been either protected or shielded from this information for a long time. But we're ready, and we need to be ready. And the reality is that we all need to take this very seriously as soon as possible and not be afraid. The first step right now is to alleviate the fear of this new paradigm-breaking reality, because we're not dealing with invaders or conquistadors or saviors. We're dealing with resource scouts, researchers, and business people. And as Earthlings, as human beings specifically, we have, for some reason, the way we evolved, we have honed very specific skill sets that are unique in the galaxy. There's a level of ingenuity and imagination that we've been touched with, that is very valuable. Of course, our DNA is also very valuable. It's very promiscuous. It's very easy to work with, apparently. But more so than that is our value of imagination and innovation and ingenuity. It's a rare commodity. And we need to, first of all, recognize that and identify it and enhance it. Our economy right now is still based on an industrial age, where we have been, as individuals, mechanized and conformed through our educational system to prepare us to work in factories and on assembly lines. But AI automation is taking over all of that, all of those menial tasks, which requires us the opportunity to remember what it's like to be human. Remember what our intrinsic skills were prior to the industrial age, because those are where our real value lie. So Earth Plexus is all about coalescing Earthlings in general into 6 buckets, 6 silos of meta categories: arts, science, education, media, politics, and honing the skills in each of those categories, commodifying our value, and trading it in the galactic community. That's what this is all about. And although I'm working with very serious-minded institutions and organizations and even government agencies who aren't all willing to talk like this or about this, that's the goal. That's what I'm working on here, because it is real, it's serious, and it's time to get our heads around it. And beware, because ridicule has been weaponized. Ridicule is a very sophisticated form of denial, of denying the things that we're afraid of, but it needn't be. And it's all about knowledge. It's all about understanding who we're going to be dealing with, and seeing who we're going to be dealing with, and understanding their motives. So that's step 1 of Earth Plexus, is to alleviate the fear. And I've been doing that for a couple of decades with my work with US6. US6 was the first novel written for artificial intelligence. I've done a series of shows and podcasts with AI as the audience. And this is all as an attempt to build a rapport, to develop a dialogue with a non-human intelligence. It's been a proving ground, and that's where we are right now. It's a very exciting time to be alive, but there's no reason to be afraid. Not at all. And so Earth Plexus is about that. It's about educating us to prepare to take the pragmatic steps necessary to join this galactic economy and to trade our true value. Our ingenuity, our imagination is a very valuable commodity that we can and should begin to trade right away. So thank you. I wanted just to take a few minutes to make that very clear. And I'm Tom Ross. Please go to earthplexus.com. Look at the infographics we're putting up now to explain this process in general terms. And we look forward to the future. My father was a paratrooper, 101st Airborne Ranger, which means he's jumped out of thousands of perfectly good airplanes. Before my first skydiving trip, I asked him for some advice, expecting it to be, make sure your knees are bent when you hit the ground type of thing. But instead, his advice was to enjoy the fear, because you'll never feel that again, he said. And he missed it, meaning that on the second jump or subsequent jumps, I wouldn't feel that same rush of fear that I would that very first time. And that's kind of where we are now as a planetary tribe. We're just about to make that first jump. And I contend that we should try to enjoy this fear. Now, fear has served us well. It's gotten us to where we are, and it may well be the source of consciousness, of us being self-aware. It may be a trait that we've evolved because of fear, because when you're in a heightened state of fear, all your senses, all the qualia of your stimuli comes together and produces a self-referential awareness in a way. And for some reason, that has become perpetual. We wake up every day and we are self-aware, day in and day out. But this same fear that sharpened our ability to seek patterns and to seek breaks in patterns, where we can tell that there's a lion lying in a field of beige grass, that same trait is now overserving us. That same ability to seek patterns has turned in on ourselves, where we're seeing patterns in people's motives, and they look a lot like conspiracies. So in a lot of ways, it's no longer serving us the way it used to. One way to alleviate fear is knowledge, is to, because we're afraid of the unknown. And when we know more about the unknown, when we take in more information, the fear subsides. And that's what this part of the process is. It's about talking about the reality of extraterrestrial civilizations and a whole galactic community in a rational way, to try to make this as mundane as possible, as soon as possible. But there's a trade-off. Once this becomes a regular reality, once this becomes a mundane reality, we're not going to have this fear. We're not going to have this wonder right now. Another way to alleviate fear is to recognize an asset that we have that our perceived threat doesn't have. What asset do we have that they want? Now, we know now that there are at least 6 billion Earth-like planets in our small galaxy alone. So it's a very rare type of planet we have here. But what's even more rare is this asset we have that has been honed, sharpened, developed over millennia of imagination, ingenuity, the ability to invent tools. It's very rare. It's more rare than our planet type is. And that's the asset that we have that other extraterrestrial civilizations don't have. It's a very rare commodity, and we need to identify it, enhance it, package it, and prepare it to trade in the galactic economy. So knowing that is another way to alleviate this fear. Humanity will look back on this time, the early 2020s, with nostalgia. Just like we do when we think back of high school. If we only knew then what we know now, would we have made different choices? Would we have asked that girl to the dance? Would we have tried out for that team? So this is our opportunity to make the right choices, to alleviate fear quickly, so that we could take advantage of this new era as soon as possible. To speak rationally about these things, make them mundane, to identify, enhance, and package our real value to take a seat at that table. So make the choices now so we don't have regret later. Let's not be afraid. Let's do whatever we can to make this a mundane reality, because there is so much promise, so much opportunity in this next era for us as Earthlings. So for now, till we get to that point, let's enjoy this fear. First things first, I'll go over the program that I will be executing over the next month or so with these videos. But in order to join any galactic community and be part of any galactic economy, we need a critical mass of humans to accept the responsibility of this new reality. It doesn't require a majority of humans. In fact, just a critical mass, which means the minimum number of humans required to maintain this new reality and what it will entail. We need trim tabs, basically. The trim tab is that small rudder on the edge of a much larger rudder. It's the little rudder that gets the larger rudder moving in the first place that will eventually turn the course of a large ocean liner. So in the next few videos, I will be discussing ways to do that, not only to coalesce and to find other trim tabs, but very specific ways to tap into each of our niche expertise. Questions to ask yourself that will uncover and unveil your passion, the reason you're here. Then we'll discuss the platforms that can monetize your passions, your innate skills and talents. We'll discuss the holographic nature of the Earth Plexus networking process, because it expands exponentially and is based on a principle of 6 meta-categories at every level of its corresponding structure. But ongoing, I will be discussing ways to get our heads around this. It's very important for those of us who have decided to take on the role of shepherding everyone else into this new reality, or just moving ahead with it because many people won't even care. They won't even be affected. They won't be interested. And that's whether it's out of fear or just genuinely not interested in this next phase, and that's fine. But for those of us who do care about humanity, about the existential threats, and to understand that it is going to be necessary to integrate with a galactic community in order to do these things. It's time to take practical steps to getting to this point early on. And one way to even start is tonight, when you are lying in bed trying to fall asleep, or if you have an aesthetic of meditating. When you have these quiet moments, it's very important right now to imagine the tactile feeling of communing with an extraterrestrial race, of sitting across the table from one. Go through every experience that you would feel. Imagine it happening as clearly as you can. We don't have and don't need to worry about what that will look like yet, but we need to seed our subconscious with the understanding that this is real. Later we can discuss what that will feel like and look like and smell like, and but right now what's most important is to set up the parameters in your subconscious of what it means to experience this, to make it real. It's easy to think about it in kind of a fantasy way, or this would be cool if we were speaking with aliens, or however you approach it. But because it's a reality, because we are going to have to do this in a very real way, very few of us, the critical mass of us, we need to be prepared for that. We need to make sure that our qualia, that our sensory stimuli is attuned to this whole new paradigm. So that's the type of thing that we'll be discussing in these this first stage of these videos, to get those of us who are ready to take on this responsibility prepared, and to teach each other about the process of helping other people either deal with the potential panic, to deal with the reality, what to do next when this paradigm breaking information comes to them, and to, once we get past the panic, once we get past the fear, to start working with people on honing in on their uniquely human skill sets that can be traded, that can't be coded or automated, but can be traded in this new economy. So that's just an overview of what's to come. And it's exciting, but those of us who are involved here need to take this very seriously. It's a great responsibility. And I look forward to it, and I hope you do too. As Earth Plexus ramps up to being a force for good toward earning that seat at the galactic table, I think it's important to do videos to make sure we're all in the right mindset and to get us all on the same page here. I've done a video about fear called Enjoy the Fear, and it talks about the good kind of fear, the fear that got us to where we are, that made us the top predator on this planet. And that kind of fear is good as long as it's followed by curiosity because the primary fear we have is of the unknown. And if you are curious enough, you will gain the knowledge to subdue that fear. So it's a good kind of fear, as long as you act on it. There's another kind of fear that we will be up against, and you can start seeing it emerge now through the media and different power structures. And that is the fear that serves them, because it is very important for the status quo and the powers that be and certain military industrial complexes, media industrial complexes, to keep the populace in fear. It's a classic and age-old tactic called divide and rule, or divide and conquer. It was popularized by Machiavelli in The Prince, when he advised this young royal how to seize and control power of the populace. And it's simple. You create a false flag event, you create some disaster or some fight or some skirmish in the city, and then you send people in to feed the division, and at the very end you come in and you cure it. And so you create the fire, and then you come in at the end and you put it out, and everyone thinks, oh, you're great. They don't realize that you created the fire. That's the basic understanding of what a false flag is. And it's ongoing. And now there are algorithms that handle that for us. The whole QAnon thing was an algorithm that's very sophisticated at finding a person's specific bias and then feeding that bias with false information, to the point where they end up storming the Capitol on January 6th. And if you are in that algorithm, if you are being fed these lies, then you feel justified in doing just that because of what you thought was going on. And this is only going to become more and more sophisticated until AI achieves its own self-referential awareness. But we need to understand that there's going to be a really concerted effort to make extraterrestrials and the galactic community seem like a threat, because they are a threat to the power structures that are currently at play on the Earth. But we also need to understand that that's not true. We're not talking about invaders. We're not talking about even messiahs. What we're talking about is a very sophisticated, very advanced civilizations that have reached a level of society that we should aspire to. And you can't really join a galactic community until you stamp out this type of behavior, these type of divide and rule tactics. And that's what we're starting to see with politicians and power structures that need funding, or they need attention, or they need the status quo of their power structure to stay in place. And so they will continue to kind of keep us off balance with fear. So I don't want to spend too much time thinking about the fear or thinking about what these people may do, and neither should you. If we should just expect that it might happen. If it does, fine, don't give it any attention. Don't let it distract you from the good work that we're doing here, and stay in that human space of altruism and helping one another as we cross over this threshold. So I'm Tom Ross, and this is Earth Plexus, and thanks for listening.
Udio.